Okay, assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, sister?
I haven't quit smiling for a week.
Inshallah. Yeah, and what's your name?
My name is Gretchen.
Gretchen. Tell us a little bit about your background. How long have you been Muslim first?
For 1 week.
MashaAllah. And what were you before?
I was raised Mormon or LDS.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your background.
I was raised in a very religious family. Mormonism is a strict code of moral behavior and scripture and education, and had a family and 2 sisters, and I've been married for almost 19 years, and I have 3 children. And about 2 years ago, my husband decided that he didn't believe in the church anymore, and he wanted to leave it and study some other things. Well, his pathway has been very diverse, and he was attending a Unitarian church, and I was trying to support him in his studies, so I went with him, and an imam was there that day, and he did the call to worship, and even though I didn't understand a word that he said, I felt something. I don't know, I didn't know what it was then. But I felt excited and yet peaceful at the same time. And he spoke and talked about the pillars of Islam and about the beliefs. And it struck me at that moment how similar it was to what I had been taught and what I believed in growing up. And I thought, well, if I can't believe in that anymore, this is something that I could believe in. But at the time I was just, a bystander.
Right.
So I decided I was just going to study and, look things up online and try and meet people and try and meet Muslims. And all of a sudden, it's like when you start to look for something, they're there everywhere you look. And so I was asking people at swimming pools questions. I mean, like as soon as I saw a woman in hijab, I was like, oh, I can't wait to go talk to her. I need to ask her questions. And just everybody I met was helpful. And then one of the sisters said, well, you need to come to the masjid Friday night. We were having a class. And I was like, okay, I'm there. And she's got small children, and she ended up not being able to be here at the beginning. And so I was here, and I waited, and I was nervous, and I didn't know what to do and who to talk to. And I was like, okay. So I just kind of sat in the back of the room and listened. And there's a sister who taught the class that evening, and she was very knowledgeable and taught me a lot. And I was, okay, I can do this. And yet I felt very much an outsider, because there was so much going on that isn't explained, that wasn't explained, and I didn't have anybody there with me to say, okay, this is what we're doing now, and this is what this means, and this is what this means, and I didn't know any of that.
Right.
And so when I left, I was a little frustrated, just because I felt like I'd been studying so much, and yet when I got here, it didn't seem to mean very much. There's still so much to learn. Right. So I was very upset that night when I went home, and I talked to one of my friends that a young man who I found out was Muslim, and I said, I don't know if I can go back. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I didn't, Yeah. So I told him, I said, I don't know if I can go back. I just need more time.
Right.
And the next week I was working late, and it was 7:30 when I got off work, and I thought, well, I've missed it. Good. That's my excuse right there, is I've missed the class. There's no way I can make it there on time. So I went home, and my husband and my son were gone, and my daughters wanted me to take them somewhere, so I did. And then all of a sudden, I had the whole evening open. And I just kept feeling like you need to get cleaned up, and you need to change clothes, and you need to drive to the masjid. And I was like, but I have the whole night to myself. No, you need to get cleaned up, you need to change your clothes, and you need to get to the masjid. So I did that. And I drove, and I was here with a minute to spare for prayer. And I just sat, I didn't pray because I didn't know how to, just sat in the back of the room and watched everybody else. And I should say that I've been feeling a lot of tension and a lot of anger towards my husband for leaving the church when he did, because that's my ancestry, that was my family, that was my upbringing, that was the hopes that I had for my family, my very own children. And it was all my friends. It was my social connections. It was my neighbors, and I've been so angry at him. And in the middle of that prayer, all of a sudden, all that anger and that resentment just evaporated. It just lifted. And I saw what he had done as a blessing. because it brought me here. And I don't know what else to say, but I'm glad that it did.
SubhanAllah. I mean, I'm just speechless. Now, how did you make your shahada? How did you decide, okay, this is the religion that I want, and I want to become a Muslim right away?
Well, you know, it's funny because I had been studying and studying, reading everything I could find, because I thought you had to know it all first.
Okay.
But you have to know what all the words mean, and you have to know how to do all the prayers, and you have to know all of this before you can do that. And